Hello, everybody. We are going to get started here with our stream. If you guys have any issues or anything, just let me know. Um, I'll be asking some questions, and I know you guys are all on Facebook. So, and some folks are joining in from outside of Facebook. So if you guys want to just comment either in the chat or in the comments, if you guys have any questions or need me to revisit something, then I will be happy to re-go over it and such. So you guys won't, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for dads. My husband's also going to come in here and help me kind of show some different things. And I also worked really hard to not have a bunch of pink, which I'm very used to having. So hopefully it works out easy enough for you guys, but I tried to make it as easy and simple as possible. So again, if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments and we can get started. So easy peasy. So starting off, preparing for baby, we're just going to kind of jump right in. Preparing for baby, this is a lot of mamas that have been taking my class are either due very, very soon. I have a Christmas mama, and then I also have moms due in April and May. So things that you can kind of start doing to help your significant other prepare is things like helping with the cleaning. At one point, she may or may not develop something called the nesting instinct, which is where she'll feel the need to triple wash all of the clothes, fold them in a very specific way, probably do something where if it doesn't bring her joy, she'll purge. And it's a whole process. And sometimes moms don't get it at all until like 20 minutes before they go into labor. So things like helping her with things around the house, like cleaning, putting together the furniture, heavy furniture like the rocking chairs and the cribs and such. Make sure that the non-pregnant party is putting those together and helping out as much as possible, limiting the amount of stress that's on the body for mama. Making sure that you're helping out with the nursery and baby items and baby proofing the house. It's not absolutely necessary at this point to put outlet covers on everything because baby's not really moving around. But things like if you guys have blinds, make sure that those curtains are away and that they can't grab on those pulleys and anything dangerous like cords on the ground, things like that. And then also freezer meal prep. I learned this with my last baby and highly recommend it. To cook and freeze meals, and these don't have to be like the casserole for a crowd type thing. This could be freeze and prep some breakfast burritos and some pancakes and easy meals that she could pop in the microwave. You can pop in the microwave when you both are sleep deprived and can easily just keep it going, and you guys don't have to worry about too much. The car and the essentials, things like making sure the car seat is properly installed and ready to go. You guys can have a car seat tech. You can actually go to the hospital that you're birthing at, and a lot of times they will have somebody there to help make sure that it's installed. And even after you guys leave the hospital, well, before you guys are allowed to leave the hospital, a lot of times they have to check to make sure the car seat base at least is installed correctly as well. Some firehouses do them, but make sure you call ahead. My husband's firehouse does not do them. So just kind of keep that in mind that if you're going to just stop at one, to call ahead and let them know and just see if they even do it. And then also if you guys are prepping the birthing bag, also known as the hospital bag, that is ready to go either by the front door or already in the car. Making sure that things in there like an extra charger for your phone, and different things like that definitely need to be in there. If you are a stickler for specific chapsticks, or if you are somebody who likes to chew, or if you guys are somebody who likes very specific things, make sure you guys have those in the birthing bag. I also really recommend putting things in there like honey sticks and peanut butter packets or almond packet, whatever type of butter, nut butter packets, to kind of help mama out when she's in labor. She will need food to regain her strength, especially if she's having a 30-hour labor. So just make sure that simple things are in there like that. And then also the relationship. Baby proof more than just your house. Doing things like getting her flowers or asking if she needs help cooking dinner, rubbing her feet, putting lotion on her belly. It doesn't take much, but just making sure that you guys have a really solid ground before baby hits, because once that sleep deprivation is around and you guys are experiencing a whole new life form, sometimes things can get a little rocky, and it's okay. And just make sure that you guys are having the hard conversations now of, is it going to be okay if we're sleep deprived if baby ends up sleeping in bed with us one night? Or is it a very strict, hard no-go? And we'll talk about safe ways to have baby sleep in bed with you and have baby sleeping in a crib as well. So we'll cover all of that, but just making sure that you guys are halfway preparing more than just the nursery and buying a whole bunch of diapers as well. It's not always necessary. So when to leave your house. This is something super, super helpful to know and understand. When the water breaks, it could be a huge gush or like a slow leaking. When the water breaks, it has no smell, it's clear, it's continuous, and usually if it's not a huge gush, it will have, like, she'll continuously soak her pants or soak whatever she has. Sorry, I have to sneeze. So if I sneeze, I apologize. And so when the water breaks, it doesn't always mean that you have to go to the hospital right then. Really wait for that 5-1-1 rule. So the 5-1-1 rule is when she's having contractions lasting, they're 5 minutes apart, lasting for a minute or longer, lasting for an hour or longer, without breaks or pause in between. So if you guys are having those contractions and then all of a sudden they taper off, try to get her to go to sleep or break or bake bread, do something to continuously keep her body fueled. Make sure you guys are eating during this, because a lot of times once you enter the hospital, they no longer allow food for a variety of reasons. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. So a contraction, when you time it, it is not just the contraction and then timing the length in between the contraction. So when you say the 5 minutes apart, it is the start of one contraction through the contraction, lasting through the lull until the next contraction starts. So as you can see from the picture, that's what a contraction is. So within that 5 minute mark. And then of course, if mom has a gush and there is blood in it, then you should go. There is a thing when mom goes into labor, which you may or may not have heard of, which is called a mucus plug. Mucus plugs regenerate. So she says she lost it. It's okay. Unless it's accompanied with blood and a lot of it, you don't have to go to the hospital until that 5-1-1 rule. Stages of labor. So it's good for you guys to kind of know this so that when the hospital staff or the birthing staff is there, you're not like telling her she's super close when she's probably not. Now, the first stage of labor is broken into 3 phases, which is the early phase, which can last anywhere from a couple hours to 12 hours to even more. If mom gets stressed around this stage will be prolonged. So make sure that you are both trying to stay as calm as possible. Now, a contraction and a Braxton Hicks is totally different. Contractions are things that take away the breath that she can't move through, can't walk through, having a hard time. A lot of times it's accompanied with vomiting and diarrhea and just pretty much expelling everything out of the body. Contractions, I'm going to kind of stand up here. Contractions can take over the whole back and stomach and down. And it takes a lot out of you. If she's complaining about a lot of back, it's going to be back labor, which doesn't really mean anything specifically, but a lot of counter pressure, which we'll learn here very soon, will be super beneficial to her. The second phase is around 6 hours. Now, this can last as little as like 30 minutes. So you want to make sure that you're keeping track. Now, she's progressing super quickly. She could pass that 511 really fast. So just be aware of that so that when it does happen, it doesn't shock anybody. Now, this is when those contractions, this is when you're going to want to start heading to the hospital. They're going to be 3 to 5 minutes apart, lasting 40 to 60 seconds. And then that last part of first stage is called the transition. Again, it can last minutes to hours. They're 3 to 5 minutes apart, lasting 60 to 90 seconds. And this is the lose it stage. So this is the stage that you want to really be aware of. And don't take things personally. This is usually the stage that mom starts saying, I hate you. I want nothing to do with you. You're never coming near my vagina again. I should have never said yes to having a baby. All of these crazy things that she doesn't mean. But hormones are flooding her body, and the pain can get pretty crazy at this stage. So just keep trekking along, hold her hand, kind of, I hear you, babe, and trying to move forward and just remembering to not take it to heart. Second stage of labor is the actual pushing and birth of the baby. This is where it's super important to know what your mama has planned for their birth plan and refer to it. If she is headstrong, like, I want nothing to do with an epidural, don't even offer me pain medications, don't even do any of that. Make sure that you're aware of that. So when you guys are heading into the hospital, you can warn the staff, like, my wife wants nothing to do with pain medication. So please don't even bring it up unless she brings it up, and kind of letting them be aware of that. Nurses really love when dads are prepared and aware. Make sure that in your hospital bag, you have a copy of the birth plan, and you just kind of refer back to it. Know where and how she wants to birth. If she wants to birth in the water, then fantastic. Or if she wants to birth in bed or different things like that, just kind of being aware of it so that when the hospital is like, all right, we're going to start pushing, you can kind of be an advocate for her and be like, all right, baby, do you still want to birth in the water, or do you want to stay here? Or where are we going? Are you sure this is where you want to be? And just kind of reminding her and being aware. And this is a great time to know where you're supposed to be as well. This does not mean that you should be in the room. This means that this is where, if you know for a fact that you don't want to be watching down there, then be like, hey, babe, why don't we lean up a little bit and I can sit behind you? Or, hey, do you want me to rub your shoulders? Do you want me to be holding your hand? What are you really looking for here? And kind of being aware of that. I'm going to show you guys a dilation wheel. So pretty much your wife is going to be, or girlfriend is going to be transitioning to push baby out, going through all of these, and then her cervix is eventually going to get up to 10 centimeters. A normal can of Dr. Pepper fits right here at the 7 centimeters. So this is usually the size of a bagel. So I know a lot of men want to keep whatever still there, and other men are like, I'm catching this baby, I am pronouncing the gender, I am there for it the whole way. And that's wonderful. Just be aware and know where you're going to go so that when it's time, you're right there. And then third phase is the delivery of the placenta. A lot of times moms will get the shakes, chills, or hot flashes. And it's, again, just because of a huge hormone dump to get that placenta out and to get things going. So just being aware, making sure that you have those extra blankets nearby. If she has a favorite cozy blanket, then keep that in the bag until this phase, until after everything's out. And then she can kind of hold on to that. This is a great time to know if mom wants to do immediate skin to skin, the golden hour, or know if she just wants a minute to take to herself. This is a great time for you to connect with your baby as well and take your shirt off and do immediate skin to skin. Whether it's with you or mom, it is so, so beneficial to baby, to regulate their heart rate, to get them to calm down, and to get them ready for this huge transition that all of you are embarking on as a family. So a lot of times as well, once the placenta is born, sometimes people cut the cord without doing delayed cord clamping. Some people wait, anything like that. But if you're planning on cutting the cord, keep in mind that sometimes the placenta has not been born yet. It could take a while for the placenta to be born. So if you're cutting the cord and you don't want to see down there, make sure that the doctors know to cover your significant other up so that when you're cutting the cord, it doesn't sneak past you. Support during labor. So mental support and physical support, these are kind of the two main things that you'll be doing for your significant other. Mental support are things like affirmations. Now, this is something that you should know for your wife. If she is somebody who's like, has a birth board and she has affirmation cards and she's like, I want you to remind me that my body is made for birthing my baby, and remind me that each contraction brings me closer to holding him, and different things like that. Those are affirmations, and just kind of keep some in your back pocket. Or if she's like, nope, I want that room silent, I want nobody to say a word, just kind of disregard the affirmations. Offer distractions is a really great one. This could be something as easy as, hey babe, I see you're working really hard. Do you need some energy? Do you want some water? Do you want a honey stick? And just kind of reminding her that she's doing a great job. If she doesn't want to hear she's doing a great job, then again, skip it. This is all kind of remembering who your significant other is, because it'll change depending on the person. And she could be at the start of labor, like, feed me these words. And then like 20 minutes into it, she's like, just shut up. Don't say anything else. Feed me water and get my hair out of my face. And it could be the total opposite. She could be like, babe, I want you to say nothing. And then during it, she's like, I need you to talk to me. Give me something. So again, remember that things change, and it's okay for them to change. Just kind of be ready to rock and roll. The physical support, things like holding her hand, helping her into new positions, moving around with her, getting her food and water per the allowance. Now, if mama is like for sure getting a C-section, she's not going to be allowed to eat. So don't be offering her eggs Benedict if you guys know that it's not going to be allowed. My husband is now going to come in, Shane, and we're going to kind of show you guys some different positions to do with your significant other. Now, you don't have to do all of these, and she may get into a position and you guys may sit there for 45 minutes, or you guys could get into a position and absolutely hate it, and then she's going to want to change again. So just, it's okay, and just kind of keep that in mind as well. So I have to kind of move the computer. Let's make sure it didn't totally freak out. I knew that was going to happen. There we go. So that's my husband, Shane. We're going to kind of be on the floor. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'm also due in March. So some of these positions feel really good for me personally. Like this one is one of my favorite ones. Just because it kind of helps baby kind of lift up a little bit. So one of the ones can just be this and like pushing down on the shoulder. And it kind of helps with counter pressure. And then make sure that when she's doing it, you tell her to put her ankles out to open the pelvis. If you're putting the knees out, it closes the pelvis. So ankles out and then going down. The next one is like this. And he's pretty much pushing back on shoulders, and then you're gonna have her drop her hips back. Now she could be on the ground or upwards. The chair's a little high, and then spreading the knees and keeping the ankles with the knees. And a lot of times you might hear her back pop, and it's totally okay. And it's nothing to worry about at all. And then some other ones. This is where he's gonna be when I'm giving birth. He's made that known. But this one, he can help lift and support baby. So pretty much you're kind of like scooping baby up. This is a really good one if she's feeling a lot of pressure and it's not time to push yet. Another one is holding legs up. This is if a mom doesn't want to birth exactly on her back but has an epidural. This is a really good one to get support with because she can be off and allow her pelvis to totally open. And she can open her legs or close them or kind of do whatever to help. But that's also a really good one for epidurals. And then, yeah. And so standing, you could do them a lot of times. Here, let me, so you're not just looking at her butts. Is having her kind of squat down and she'll kind of rock. And you can either rock with her or don't. But this is another good one to kind of lift baby up. And she'll feel it like right here, which feels wonderful. And then this one, he's pretty much gripping right under the shoulders and then squatting down. Again, keeping legs, your knees and your toes pointing forward and kind of relaxing your back and your spine to kind of elongate and allow it to stretch. This is super helpful if mom is having a lot of back pain and a lot of back labor and back contractions. It'll help kind of relieve that pressure to allow baby to kind of reposition and get where baby needs to be. So easy for that. If your mama is in my birthing classes, we'll be going over those positions again. So you don't have to worry too much. Does anybody have questions about this or about anything that we've covered while I get re-set up with the internet? Or with my PowerPoint, I should say. I know that it kind of has a little bit of a lag. So I'm going to kind of let that come in, but I just wanted to double check. All right, you guys seem pretty prepared. Make sure that it's the way it needs to be. During it, she's like, I need you to talk to me. Alrighty, so I just looked at my phone. And so apparently comments, I am not getting them on my StreamYard. Sorry, so let me just go through this really quick. Yes, the stretches are super helpful now. You guys can start them now. I have already started them, especially the one standing where his hands are kind of on my chest and I just kind of relax down. That one's super helpful and I super love it. So you can definitely start these now. Yes. All righty. So I found this quote by Matthew McConaughey. I think I spelt his name wrong now that I'm looking at it. But I just kind of thought that this would be a good placeholder. So if anybody has any questions about what we've kind of covered or what's to come with birth-wise, it would be a great time to ask them. I'm going to give you guys a second because I know that from when I speak to when you guys actually get my information, it takes a minute. So if you hear that long pause, that's why. So I'm going to wait, see if you guys have any questions. And then if not, then we will get started on once baby is actually here. I know it's a really long pause. I realize that now that I'm watching it. Alrighty, well, if you guys do have any questions, pop them in and I'll be happy to answer them. I'm gonna check the other spot here. Alrighty, so how to pick up and hold a baby. Yes, I understand that you guys have probably held a baby before, but sometimes people think that there's only one way to hold a baby. I realize that I have a 4-year-old now and I made her clean up all of her toys and they're all in her room and she's finally sleeping. So you guys are going to watch me with my sweet little crocheted baby. So picking up and holding a baby, make sure that you're never picking them up by just their shoulders. Always supporting their head and their neck, especially when they're first born. It may seem like they have a lot of head control, but they really don't quite yet. Now, I always suggest to pick up and support head and neck until like at least a month after they have really good head and neck control, at least. So when you're doing that, there's the shoulder, of course, the very common shoulder one. Now, if you're doing the shoulder or if you're doing chest, which is when you hold baby right here, which is where a lot of baby carrying is, make sure that they're only a kiss away. Their nose is not in your chest, it's facing outward. And make sure that there's nothing that could be caught up. So if you wear super baggy clothes, make sure that they're not gripping it and covering their face up. Cradle, again, very common. This is very little baby to be showing this on. Belly, which is what you see here. Skin to skin is super helpful. And a lot of dads do complain that they feel like they're not connecting with their baby. Starting kangaroo hold, or chest or skin to skin, whatever you want to call it, starting it early and doing it every single day will help build that bond. The baby will start to get used to your smell, get used to your heartbeat, get used to the feel of you, so that when things go a little crazy, you are still a sense of comfort and calm for the baby. So I highly, highly recommend it. Talk, sing. I mean, you don't have to teach the baby arithmetic and rocket science, but just saying that you love them and you're excited for them to be with you, and good, calm words is super helpful. Belly, hip. You guys have all seen the hip. This is the normal mom one. Chair is when you're in a chair. Oop, let's move you over here. And you're holding baby on your lap in the chair. You can be rocking. This is a really good one for if you need to get something done. Now, if you're bouncing your legs, this is not going to give your baby shaken baby syndrome unless you're like doing this, doing crazy. But just nice, gentle rocks will a lot of times get out a burp or two, especially if they're on their tummy. But we'll talk about birthing in a second. Football is when you support under and you kind of hold them like this, or it can be the other way as well. Yes. Michael, I see your question come in for essentials for the birth bag. Highly recommend things like honey sticks, peanut butter, chapstick, a change of clothes. If mom is really particular on having her own stuff, then a robe, and travel size shampoos, conditioners, and body washes. But keep in mind, the hospital has a ton of stuff. So the hospital will have diapers and wipes and lanolin if she's planning on breastfeeding, and swaddles for the baby, and they'll teach you how to do a whole bunch of holds with the baby for different nursing techniques. If you're planning on formula feeding right away, they're going to have a ton of formula there as well already included. So you don't have to go crazy with the packing. I see that some people pack a lot of stuff and it's really not necessary. Making sure that you're bringing change of clothes. They have postpartum panties available along with pads for the bleeding that she can use. They'll have peri bottles. I really recommend the peri bottle from Frida Baby that is curved. I would definitely recommend putting that in the bag. There's a Frida Mom postpartum recovery kit that is super wonderful, that you can get for mom if she hasn't already bought it for herself, and it'll go a long way. But in the bag, there's really no need to bring 5 pairs of clothes and 20 pillows and all of these different things. The more you bring to the hospital, the more you have to remember to bring home, which can get a little worrisome if you have a bunch of stuff and now you have a new baby and you haven't slept for 2-3 nights because you're getting used to that new baby cry. So you don't really need to bring much in the birthing bag. And I can post it after the live. Tomorrow on my page, I'm posting about birthing bags and what to bring in them. So you can kind of keep an eye on that as well. Next, I know that you guys will not be breastfeeding, but this is supporting breastfeeding. We're going to get to bottle feeding right after this. But if mom is planning to breastfeed, supporting her and telling her she's doing a great job. And also remembering that baby, where'd they go? Babies' tummies are super small. Like I'm talking very, very small when they're first born. This is the size of a newborn baby tummy. It's about the size of a cherry, very small, and not big. And then it'll grow a little bit bigger and then a little bit bigger. And then by like a month, it'll be bigger, about the size of an egg. So keep in mind if she's feeling like, oh my gosh, the baby's always nursing, so babies must not be getting enough milk. Well, it's because their tummies are so small. They kind of have to have that. Plus, they've just been fed their whole life by the awesome placenta. They've never had this feeling of hunger. It's brand new because their placenta has always been attached right to their tum. And they've never had to worry about getting food in. So when you take the placenta away, they're no longer have that fullness. And having that continuous breastfeeding is what's building mom's supply, and it's what's making her milk come in. So she's really worried those first couple days. Tell her she's okay. If it comes down to it, you can see an IBCLC, a lactation consultant, talk to a lactation support specialist, anything like that. I am a lactation support specialist, so if you guys have questions on breastfeeding, you guys are welcome to reach out to me as well. Help bring her snacks. She's going to be what's called booby trapped. So make sure that she's using the bathroom when she's up, which sounds really weird, but it's inevitable that the second that they lay down when baby's on them, they're going to have to pee. So just reminding them, and then helping with diaper duty, helping with like if baby has a blowout or if she needs extra burp bags and stuff, just kind of being there for her. We know you guys are tired, and I promise you mom's tired too, but those are things that really help. If you guys are going to be taking over feeding, meaning mom has pumped milk for you and you're feeding a bottle, make sure that you're pace feeding, meaning that you're not just holding the baby flat with the bottle in its mouth and just sitting there and letting baby suck it in. I thought I grabbed the bottle up and I did not. That's okay. So if mom is going to be breastfeeding, a really good thing for pace feeding is kind of letting baby sit a little bit. Again, always supporting their head and neck, holding the bottle at a 45-degree angle, and feeding very slowly. Now let them feed. Now if they start to really suck it down, you can unlatch them a little bit, meaning take the bottle out of their mouth and tilt them up and over and burp them. Bring them right back and bottle again. Now, if they start to just suck and suck and suck and suck, and they're not really swallowing, try to unlatch as well, because it could be that they're getting too much gas in and they're going to get really gassy and you're going to have a really rough following hours, especially with stuff like that. And then heating breast milk. So unless she pumped, put it in a bottle and gave it to you, make sure that you never microwave breast milk. You never shake breast milk. You always warm it in warm water. So if you get warm water out of the faucet, get it really hot, put the breast milk in it. And then when you pour the breast milk into the bottle, keep in mind that in the breast milk bag or in the bottle that was in the fridge, separation of the milk is super normal. So make sure that you're swirling it, making sure that it's nice and mixed together before you pour it into the bottle is super helpful. If it's in a bag, you can kind of squish it back and forth and then pour it in. Try really hard not to spill it because it is liquid gold, and she'll be really sad if you spill it. Just a little tip. So pretty easy there. Now, if you guys are going to formula right away, great question. So when you stop pace feeding, I suggest always pace feeding until they're able to hold the bottle themselves. So when they're able to hold the bottle, take it out of their mouth, put it back in, then they're learning that by themselves. And you pace feeding them until that point is what's teaching them to understand. And they know when they take the bottle out of their mouth, they're able to burp. And it sounds really silly, but babies are really smart. So once they're able to hold it and take it out, then that's a really great time that you can stop pace feeding. If you're feeding with a bottle and you have that formula, again, pace feeding, we just learned it. Holding positions, you can do exactly what the dad is doing here. You can also do what I showed you a little bit earlier, where it's like this. You can always hold the baby, but again, making sure that that baby's head is up. When you're laying them straight down, they'll get a lot of gas, and then you'll have worry about colic and things like that. Nipple size, when to change. So on bottles, if your significant other is going to be breastfeeding, I highly suggest either a preemie or newborn nipple size. When you're feeding actual formula, it has guidelines. Each nipple will actually have a guideline, and depending on the bottle, it'll change. So once you find a bottle that your baby will take, that'll be the time when you decide when the nipple size will increase. Do not feel like if your baby is feeding wonderfully and you have no issues with it, do not feel that you need to change the nipple size until you can tell that they are having more issue. To sanitize the bottles, I thought I was going to sneeze. To sanitize the bottles, hot soapy water works great. You do not need, this works for breast milk and formula milk. You do not have to boil them after every single use. Getting a UV sterilizer is wonderful, but absolutely not needed. They have steam bags for breastfeeding moms that work great for formula bottles as well. You can find that with the bottles and breastfeeding items, but really, really recommend hot soapy water. Dawn dish soap works wonderfully. You don't need to go and buy a $20 bottle of special organic bottle soap. Dawn dish soap works great. Boiling, I recommend boiling at least once a week. But again, you do what's best for you. I know plenty of parents who have never boiled a baby bottle in their life and their babies are just fine. So again, all up to you and your parenting style. How to burp. This picture is actually from the manliness. So if you guys don't know what the manliness is, I think it's hilarious. These are 3 really great burping styles. Always make sure you have a burp rag because it is inevitable that the baby's going to puke. And it's always going to happen when you just change your clothes and when you need to look nice and when you're about to leave for work, because that's just how it goes. So The one I really recommend is this first one. When baby's on your lap, you're going to support right under their chin, sit them up, and of course, tap, tap, tap. Now, there's a lot of people who just do one spot. Should probably just do one finger because this baby's really small. Don't do that. You need to move around their back. So there's a Mickey Mouse show I actually saw a couple days ago that Mickey Mouse sings like top, top, bottom, bottom, middle, 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 which is wonderful. And then just making sure that you're continuously doing it. You don't have to do it to any sort of song. Don't go super fast with it, and you don't have to go like super slow with it. Just a normal tempo, I guess. And then you can bounce your leg. It does help gas bubbles kind of come up to the surface. But again, you don't need to if you don't want to. Once they burp, then they can go back to feeding or breastfeeding or formula feeding, whatever one you're planning to do. But always make sure you're trying to burp at least once in the middle of feeding so that they don't get too gassy and then puke up their entire meal, and then you have to refeed them. The next one is laying across the lap. This is a really good one if baby keeps leaning back on you and you can't control baby without worrying if you're going to hurt them. You just lay them down on your lap, supporting under their arm. And again, pat, pat, pat. Always make sure that their head is above their belly, because if their head is down like this when you're trying to do it, it's not going to work very well. And then, of course, everybody's seen the burping on the shoulder. It works great. Make sure that the baby's head is not pointed towards you or away from you. It should be right over and upwards. So again, always supporting head and neck with that. Soothing, the 5 S's. You'll hear this a lot. So suck, swaddle, stomach, swing, and shush. So sucking is a lot of times can be a pacifier. It could be mom's breast if she's going to be breastfeeding. It could be a knuckle. It could be a like the little pacifiers that are attached to things. It could be whatever they need to suck on that is baby safe in the mouth. You should not be giving them a stuffed animal to suck on the ear or the corner of a blanket. Definitely not safe, but safe things like that. Swaddling. This is when you wrap the baby pretty tightly. It's not like cutting off circulation or anything. Definitely ask your hospital to teach you the best way to do it with the blankets that they'll send you home with. Or there's a bunch of other swaddles that are out there, the ones that zip up. There's ollies. There's some that you just like put the baby in a little pouch and it Velcros. Keep in mind, if you get the Velcro one, that it's going to be loud when you unVelcro it. So if you plan to keep the baby sleeping during a diaper change, I wouldn't recommend those ones. There are quiet ones. There's button ones, magnetic ones. There's a bunch. Don't go crazy with pacifiers and swaddles, because a lot of times, or I shouldn't say a lot of times, but there's a good chance that your baby might not like it. And the less time that you have baby in a swaddle, they actually learn to, their startle reflex goes away quicker than if they swaddle all the time. And also remember that once they start rolling, you do not swaddle anymore. Being on their stomach, this is like, if you've seen any baby memes or any toddler memes, you'll see them where they're kind of like on their elbows and on their knees with their butt ups in the air, kind of like on their face. Remember, the baby's face should never go down into a pillow or anything. It should always be sideways. They can rest on their hands. They can have their hands to the side. A lot of babies will keep their hands to the side because this is where they had them during in utero. So don't be shocked if they want to keep that. But putting them on their stomach could help. Swinging, this can be the rocking motion. It could be a mamaroo swing. It could be a bouncer. It could be all sorts of things that just kind of rock them. This is because in utero, mom has been walking around all day long and doing different things all day long and twirling in the office chair. So they get used to that motion. So they like to be a part of that. And then shushing. This is the shh, 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 shh. Doing it pretty close to their ear. You don't have to yell it, but remember that if you're being really quiet with it, that they might not take to it. So if you're shushing them and it's not working very well, try to either elongate the shush, meaning shh, get a baby shusher, like machine, white noise machine, works great. And there's a bunch of different things that you could do for the shushing. But if you're trying these and it's still not working, a really good thing to check next is going to be if they're hungry, and to take off their socks, take off their little baby mitts, and make sure, like, you can completely undress the baby and make sure that they don't have something wrapped around them. A lot of moms lose hair postpartum, and sometimes hairs can get wrapped around, and it can cause, if you've ever wrapped a Band-Aid too hard or something around your finger and you see that it's kind of losing its circulation, it does happen to babies all the time. So if they're still having a hard time, you've tried all the S's, you've tried to feed them, you just don't know what it is, completely undress them and double check to see that that's not happening. Give them a bath, see if that helps. And it could just be some gas. And I'll kind of go over that a little bit more. But there's ways that you can do it. Make sure that when you're rubbing their tummy, it's always clockwise. Never go counterclockwise, go clockwise. And then also the bicycle, beep, beep, beep. And you're going to use a little bit more pressure than what you think you're going to need because you're trying to push out stuff from what's inside their belly. Pushing and pushing and pushing, trying that as well will really help. Bathing baby. So remember that when baby's first born, you technically don't have to give them a bath for a while. The vernix, which is the coating that's on their skin when they're born, is so helpful for them. It's antiviral, antimicrobial, antibacterial. It is so good for them. If you guys are like, nope, my baby's getting a bath within like 2 hours of being born, that's all you. If not, try to rub as much of that stuff into their skin as possible and allow it to soak in. It'll help your baby, especially if they're really dry, because again, in utero, they're covered with all this fluid, and then all of a sudden they're in this big dry world. It can affect their skin. So keeping it on their body is super helpful. But if you're going to bathe them, that's all you. The new baby smell is intoxicating. So before the cord comes off, it's sponge bath only. Get a washcloth that you really like and just kind of wipe them down, being really careful of the cord. Do not put alcohol on the cord. A lot of places are anti that now, but some people are still told to do it. Don't put alcohol on it. Let it heal up by itself. Do not fully immerse into the water, and you limit their baths. They're really not doing much except for eating, sleeping, and pooping. So as long as you're cleaning their bottoms off correctly after diapering, there's really not going to be much of a need to bathe. After the cord is fallen off and healed and everything's wonderful, then they're more than welcome to start going into the bathtub. Make sure that the water temperature isn't too hot or too cold. A really good place to check is on the inside of your wrist or using your elbow. Or there's also these little rubber duckies that say the temperature and have like red light, green light kind of thing on them to show if baby's okay to get in, which is always great. Always make sure that you are with the baby, supporting the baby. Never turn your back. If you're worried you're going to have to turn your back, just make sure your significant other is there. You never want your baby to slip and go under the water and you be looking away trying to find something. Make sure that you're limiting your soaps and lotions, oils, powders, the amount of bath and stuff like that as well. There's not a need to go crazy with this kind of stuff. Soaps and lotions are going to dehydrate the skin, and it could make for them to have baby acne, baby eczema, all these different things. So limiting that stuff is super helpful. How to change a diaper. So I got this picture because I want you guys to see that this is not the only way to do it, and I actually don't recommend this way. When you take off a dirty diaper and don't have anything underneath, it's inevitable that the baby's going to pee and or more than likely poop when there's nothing underneath them. So when you're first changing the diaper, you can put a clean diaper right underneath it. Do this if you have a girl too, but especially if you have a boy, bring the diaper up, and as long as there's not poo everywhere, bring the diaper up, let the air hit it for a second, and put it back down. Baby's inevitable gonna pee. This way you don't have to buy the PPTPs or anything like that, or worry about baby peeing all over you. Give them a second. And then when you take it off, make sure that you wipe them, get everything underneath, fold the top part over, and then make sure that baby's super clean before pulling it out, wrapping it up, putting it in your diaper genie, in your trash can, wherever you're gonna put it. And then that clean diaper is right there, ready to go. Make sure you put it up. The tabs go in the back. Usually diapers say back or front, but the tabs go in the back and wrap around the front. Don't go too tight, don't go too loose. And then the other thing is when you put the diapers on, make sure that it's not folded under their butt. Like, I should have a diaper and I don't. This will work. So if the outside, this is all my baby poo for a different class. If the outside of the diaper is folded in like this, that's when a lot of blowouts happen. So just running your fingers, making sure that it's nice and tight, but not cutting off circulation, it'll be super helpful for avoiding that. Avoiding blowouts is always ideal. Safe sleep. There's a lot of ways that you can sleep with a baby. You can bed share, you can co-sleep, and you can sleep in separate spaces. Bed sharing is, you guessed it, when you actually share your bed, you have a family bed, you share the bed with baby. Co-sleeping is not the same as bed sharing. Co-sleeping is sleeping in the same room / space, because I know I have a New York family in a studio apartment. So sleeping in the same space where baby is close enough to you to where they can hear you breathe, you can hear them breathe. And then you have where you're in actual separate spaces. So if you're going to be sharing a bed with baby, make sure that the loose sheets are not near baby's face or anywhere that they could grab and pull over their head. Make sure that they're never on the side of the bed where they could be pushed off. If dad is a heavy sleeper, try to limit how close he is to the baby. My husband and I got a king size bed. We upgraded from a queen, and I did not realize how much more space the king size bed has, which has been wonderful. So just kind of keep in mind the space that there is between. There is ways, and there are tons of families who bed share. So if you're going to do this, this is really great to do if you are a breastfeeding only family, because then mom gets a lot more sleep, you get a lot more sleep, baby gets a lot more sleep because baby's very close. Baby starts to stir, mom latches baby, and that's kind of the end of it rather than everything else. If you're going to be sleeping in separate locations, whether this is co-sleeping or in separate rooms, make sure that there are no loose sheets, toys, or items with the babies and no crib bumpers. It's always interesting how many like stuffies and loveys babies get that they can't really sleep with. Make sure that if they're having a pacifier, that it's not connected to the actual stuffed animal that a lot of them come with. Make sure that the bed is properly assembled, that it's firm and flat, and it doesn't have any wedges or anything in it. The bars on the crib, another reason this comes in handy, should not be wider than a can. And yeah. And then always make sure that you're properly clothing your baby. Babies should not have a fan or a heater blowing directly on them. They should never, if you go and touch their hands, their face, or their feet, they should never have their fingers super like ice cubes or super hot. If they are, make sure that you're changing how they are dressing. So this could be adding little mittens, adding socks, removing them, changing what type of sleeper they're in, things like that. But it kind of changes depending on the weather. And if you're in Australia versus if you're in Colorado. Avoiding SIDS. Every year, about 2,300 babies die from SIDS. I know quite a few families whose babies have died from SIDS, and it's extremely sad. So things that you can do to avoid it is always making sure that baby is sleeping on their back. Now, if you're holding baby, it's okay to let baby be on their tummy and get that skin on skin and be there with you, because you're going to notice if your baby stops breathing. But don't go overboard with it. Still have them sleep on their back if they're alone. Always use a firm mattress without wedges or positioners. Make sure you're using sleep sacks or a swaddle, properly dressing for the temperature. After breastfeeding is established, you can use a pacifier. There's no absolute need to use a pacifier. A lot of folks really like it. I never gave a pacifier, and I know a lot of other people who never gave a pacifier. So not using your pacifier is not going to be a make it or break it type of situation. Nothing in the sleep location. Make sure that for the first couple months, sleeping in the same room has actually been shown to help, because the baby hears the noises and it kind of makes sure that they're still breathing. They hear you breathing, you hear baby breathing. Make sure that your home is completely smoke and cigarette free, pot free, depending on where you live. And then watch for your animals, especially the kitties. If you guys have cats, that's wonderful. They could be wonderful with your little humans, but just be aware of it, especially at sleeping time, that they're not, if they're a cat who likes to sleep on your head, they're gonna like to sleep on baby's head, and baby can't push that cat away. Same with dogs. They have tons of cute videos, and it's always lovely, but make sure that if you're not there actually watching to make sure what's going on, that it's not being done a ton. Alrighty, so that is kind of my basic, easy peasy, how it's gonna kind of go down different things. Does anybody have other questions, things that they're curious about with their brand new babies, with their wives, anything else to that effect that I can help answer for you? I've been trying to watch the comments. So I'm going to scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss any. Yes, the video will be available for 1 week after. Usually I keep it up for a week and a half, 2 weeks, but I can keep it up for a little bit. A good time to pack the hospital bag is around 30 weeks. I recommend to have it completely done by 35 weeks. But at any time you can have it packed and ready to go. Tummy time, that's a really great question. Once you're comfortable with tummy time, then you can start it. I recommend giving your baby a couple days to adjust. Probably doing it around 3-4 weeks is a really great time. There's not much that's going to be going on. And especially if you have baby on your tummy and you guys are laying down on a couch, that counts as tummy time. They don't need to be completely interactive and doing all these different things. Babies are going to sleep for quite some time. So if they're on your chest and they're starting to work on their head strength and they're starting to move their hands about, then that's totally okay. And then you can start like actual tummy time on the floor. Make sure you're checking with your pediatrician. They might have other rules or things that they want you to do first. Always go with your pediatrician and their advice, because they could see something or notice something in your baby that they want to make sure right away is not the case versus whatnot. Make sure also, a really good tip to avoid the flat head is if you're going to be putting baby in a crib, make sure that you're like one night putting them this way to sleep, the next night putting them this way to sleep. That's because they're going to be looking out, and the movement of their head is going to make sure that they're not going to get that flat head syndrome. And doing that along with tummy time is going to be super helpful. What other questions do you guys have? If you guys don't have any further questions right now, but something pops up, you guys are welcome to message me on Facebook, Instagram. You guys are watching, so you guys see my Facebook. And then you guys can also email me, beyondbirthdoula@icloud.com. I'm happy to help with that. Colic. Oh boy. So to have colic, it takes a bit to have the diagnosis of colic. Make sure that you get that from your pediatrician. Doing things like breastfeeding, properly burping, making sure that the diet's right is going to help. If they're formula feeding and they're starting to get colic, then it's probably something with the formula, and a change of formula would be ideal. But there could be something else going on in their GI tract that I wouldn't be able to really help you with unless I'm your doula and I'm down the road from you and can help you. So for colic and things like that, I would really recommend talking to your pediatrician, because they're going to be able to better help diagnose the colic and treat it better than I could, especially without hearing what kind of colic is really going on. Sorry, that one I don't have the best answer for. But don't all automatically assume it's colic either, because it takes a bit for colic to actually be diagnosed. Any other questions? Of course, Lily. I'm glad you guys were able to join. Alrighty, my friends. If you guys have anything for me, you guys are welcome to drop them, message me, or anything like that. I'm talking to people all the time, so I'm always on my phone. If you guys need anything, please let me know. If you guys go into labor and something's going on, you guys are always welcome to message me, and I can kind of help guide you through some additional things to help. But I hope you guys have an awesome night. I'm going to end the broadcast here. And if you guys have anything, feel free to message me. And then I will be posting tomorrow about the birthing bag as well, if you guys wanted to check that out. But I hope you guys have a great night. If you guys need anything, please let me know. Bye.